Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Rethink Culture, the podcast that shines a spotlight on leaders of businesses people love to work for. My name is Andreas Constantino, and I'm your host. I'm also a micromanager turned servant leader over the years who developed a passion for workplace culture. At Rethink Culture, we're on a mission to help 1 million companies create a healthier, more fulfilling culture at work. And our latest project is the Culture Health Score that helps you build a high-performance culture. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Tracy Marlowe. Tracy is a CEO and founder of Creative Noggin, a purpose-driven marketing agency that provides women with a workplace with a fulfilling career and the support of a family-first culture. Tracy believes nurturing women has an exponential impact as women support so many around them. And she tells me she's an avid horseback rider and a firm believer in the power of the mind through meditation and visualization. So, Tracy, very welcome to the Rethink Culture podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So, where do we start? I know you're very passionate about authentic marketing. So tell us, what is authentic marketing and what makes Creative Noggin special?
That's one of the things we're really passionate about. We believe that, first of all, I think most companies, I think it's really important for them to have a vision and a purpose, not only to build a phenomenal culture for them and their employees, but also so that people who might be attracted to do business with that company, they understand what that company stands for and what their real core purpose and vision is. And I believe that it's important to create marketing that shines a light on that vision and that is really crafted in an authentic and genuine way that ensures, number one, that the customer journey from the moment they see the first ad, right? They see the first advertising all the way until they have interactions with that company is incredibly authentic and it's never disjointed. I do not believe in marketing that's been sort of crafted in a way to lure somebody based on what this company thinks. Like, oh, I know that they want this, so we're going to put this in the marketing. Because if that's not really true, it's going to be a bad experience for your customer. And at the end of the day, it costs way more to attract a new customer than it does to keep your current customers. And if you have authentic marketing, it's going to keep your customers loyal. And so I think that that's really important.
Who does that really well? What's an example of a brand or a campaign that's really authentic that you admire?
I think REI does a really good job of that. And so I think does Patagonia. Those are both kind of outdoor brands that really stand for and believe in people getting outdoors. And I think that they've done a really good job of making that come true, ring true in their marketing. I think who they are at their core is very apparent.
And then I'd like to highlight the link and understand the link between authentic marketing and a family-first culture. Are they two connected, or are they different sides of Tracy?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there probably is definitely a link because I think that that's something that is authentically true about me and that's something that I stand for. And so it's something I started my company for really because I wanted family first. Like that was something that was important to me. And so I created that for myself and then ended up being able to create it for all of my team members. And so that's something that, was something from my heart and it was definitely part of my vision. And so then I will love that we were able to make that come true. And we do put that in all of our marketing.
And you were telling me earlier that you started your business as a mom, just as a new mom, I think, right?
Yeah. I was a brand new mom.
How was that experience?
It was interesting. It was a crazy time for sure. My daughter was 6 months old and I just knew that I needed to change. And I was working many hours. I was working 60 plus hours a week. um, really building a company for somebody else, basically. And I ended up, um, I just realized I needed to do something else and that I wanted to to do work that I was proud of and work that still, stimulated me intellectually, but I also wanted to be there for my daughter. I had been like a career charging woman up until that point, and then I had her, and it was like everything changed and my priorities really shifted. So I knew I wanted to be there for her as a mom. And that was a really, kind of pivotal time in my life. And then starting a company and scaling that, it's funny because when I started it, I never envisioned it to be what it is today. I think it was really at that time, I just was like, well, I just want to, work for myself. And in my mind, that could have just been freelancing. But then now knowing myself, I realized like, oh, I couldn't have just freelanced. It, became a like, took on a life of its own, let's just say. And so, yeah.
And how did you change as the company grew? Like, what were one or two things you remember rethinking or thinking or seeing yourself differently actually as the company grew? How are you different today as a leader to that 6 month
I think
mom?
I'm so different. And I think, um, I didn't see myself as a leader then. I just saw myself as, a hard worker. And I think really embracing that role and that helm and realizing that it's up to me to be a good leader, and then if I want to be a good leader, I need to educate myself, I need to read, I need to, attend, seminars and workshops and things like that, and really lean into that role and realize that, I mean, these people are these are people giving me their lives basically in terms of they're spending more time with me than they are with their own families, coming to work for me. And so it's my job to be the best steward of that I can. And so it's
And what
not just about making profit for me. It's about really it's the whole, it's the whole thing. I want it to be a good experience for them at the same time.
and what's the job description of a leader in one or two words or one or two lines? What is a leader really supposed to do?
I think it's to guide and steward and ensure that something stays on the right path. Do you need to do a you're good? Okay. I think just to keep something, it's really kind of, I think, like, so like the captain of a ship, right? Making sure that it stays on course, making sure that the crew stays safe and that they're, cared for, and that, it gets where it's headed. Like, obviously, a ship is gonna have a port that you're headed towards, and so making sure everybody knows what the vision is and where we're headed and, that we're all rowing in the same direction. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, totally. Uh, I used to see the job of a leader as a manager. I can't even think of myself as being that person. Like that was a very different person.
Yeah.
And now I see it as the job of helping someone else being a leader or become a leader.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, on the subject of culture, I know you put a lot of thought into a family first culture. What does that mean, and what's an example of living that culture?
My I family first is really important to me, and I think it's creating a truly flexible environment where my team know that at the end of the day, their family comes first, and we believe that. We don't just say it. And so there's times where, um, I mean, it can be as simple as somebody has a doctor's appointment that they need to take their child to, and um, you know, they just can, like, they will message the team, "Hey, I'm coming in. I'm going to come in a little early today because I have to leave for a couple of hours to take my child to an appointment." And there's no question about that. I mean, we know they're getting their work done and it's family first. But it also comes down to the point of there's times where things pop up. We had a woman whose husband had a heart attack, and I mean, she wanted to try to wrap some things up before she went. And my whole team were just like, you go right now, just leave. We will make it work. We will make it happen and we will keep things going. We'll go to your meeting. Don't even worry about it. Just go. And just, it's really, we don't just say it family first. We believe family first. I tell them,
And
I keep telling them, I'm like, first of all, we are not brain surgeons. We are doing advertising. The difference between blue and green is not going to save somebody's life. So we have a tendency to get really serious about the work we're doing, and our clients take it seriously. We take it seriously, but at the end of the day, it's not, it's not brain surgery.
yeah,
We can't take ourselves too seriously.
yeah.
And I tell them, we should be working so we can live. I want your work to enable your life. You don't live to work. I mean, I tried to actually show them that by being a really, I'm not a workaholic. I want to show them that I'm doing the same thing. So I want to model that for them.
And I think you mentioned you also care about volunteering and charitable work.
We do. Yeah, we do donate a minimum of 5% of our profits every year to causes in our communities that support and empower women. And we also, at least once a year, go and volunteer together for one of those organizations that we support. And I think that that's huge. I think it makes a big difference to be able to do that type of work together.
How
Because we're
how
not just saying that we care about empowering women, we're actually doing it together.
what's the impact that you see this having on your team?
I think it makes them feel proud that that we're all working towards the same mission. I think it makes them feel proud, and it makes them feel um, like the work they're doing, it makes a difference. It's not
Mm.
just making profit. It's not just trying to
Yeah.
hit some goals or some numbers. It's actually work that
Mm.
makes a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember from our research. I mean, an e-commerce company, an insurance company, um, whose work doesn't really have an earth-shattering impact to the world, but because those companies are active in volunteer work, whether it is planting trees after a fire, or if it is helping the streets become safer by repairing signage, for example. These acts alone provide such fulfillment and inspiration for employees that they completely change their outlook on what is the meaning of my job. So, you might be working 40 hours a week and just pushing things slightly forward for the business, as everyone does in a large company. But these volunteer work um, instances might push your inspiration and your meaning in the company so much more, even if they're every 6 months. It's astonishing how much impact it has on people.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I really enjoy it, and I know that they do too. I think it's it feels good.
And the other thing I know that you do at Creative Noggin is you're passionate about celebrating dreams.
We are. Yeah. Every single one of us has a list of our dreams that we make, a minimum of 50 dreams. And we work on AOS. So we set quarterly rocks, our goals. And we also include our dreams in our goals. And it doesn't have to be let you accomplish a dream in a quarter, but you might, have like a bite-sized chunk that you want to take out of it. Like we had somebody who was trying to pay off to be who wanted to be debt free, and she was like, okay, I'm going to pay off this credit card this quarter because it's going to get me on the path towards to my dream. And we celebrate those dreams. We actually regularly we have a regular meeting cadence, and we talk about our dreams and what type of, you know, whenever somebody accomplishes a dream, we celebrate it, and I love it. I mean, everybody shares pictures, and it's always fun. So,
What's a case of someone achieving their dream that you can recall?
it can be. It's funny because I've had some that seem like one of the ladies. She wanted to get into what is it called? The Toastmasters, and she wanted to learn public speaking. And now she's not only in Toastmasters, she's like all the way up to like going into the top level of Toastmasters. And so that's been so fantastic. We've been just celebrating that along the way with her as she's been like working on that for, gosh, I think almost 2 years now. And it's been really great. Like maybe even longer than that. So, I mean, we've had so many different dreams. I mean, somebody who was just her dream was to go on a European trip, and it was a 2-year thing of her carving out like, "Okay, I'm planning the trip. I'm saving for the trip. And then finally she went and did it and shared all the pictures, and it was fantastic.
And how convinced are you that taking care of your people actually takes care of your business?
Oh, I'm 100% convinced of that. I believe that, um yeah, I think that when your people really believe that you care for them, they show up every single day and they give you 110%. I mean, eh, hands down. I think it's incredibly important.
Did you have to witness it to be convinced, or did you believe that instinctively?
It's interesting because I worked for a company where they had a list of I mean, if you looked at their benefits list, it was all the things. But yet they had very low morale
Like a
and
pool
high.
table and
Oh, they had the happy hours on
jacuzzi and
Fridays, they had the cake for everybody's birthday, they did all the things, right? And yet the morale was really low, and they had a high turnover, um, and I would think about that, like, what is it that's missing? But I think it was that really caring, and I mean, that trickles down from the top down, and people really know if you're if if your company really cherishes you, and I think it makes a difference.
and where do you draw a line between caring and being demanding about seeing like outcomes and performance? You mentioned earlier about an incident with your CPA.
Um, I think that I have high standards, and I think but I think that I wouldn't say I draw a line. I mean, I think both can happen. I think they can happen at the same time. I think that you can have
Mm.
high standards, but I think that the truth is because of caring for my people, they hold themselves to high standards, and so it didn't even have to come from me that much. They are the ones that are really like they're the ones who are setting the goals for the company now. We're doing it together, and we're running on EOS, and we're meeting regularly, and we're looking at our scorecard, and we're tracking our progress. Um, we all hold ourselves to that same high standard. And obviously, I think that's what's important is that you have to clear is kind. Somebody said to me one time, and I really like that. I think if it's clear what the expectations are and you're tracking against that, I mean, everybody knows, and you're keeping it very clear. And I mean, even when people join our organization, when we're interviewing them, I have a document that I wrote called the Creative Noggin Commitment, and it's basically outlines very clearly like this is what we stand for, this is what we believe in, and it's things like we show up on time to meetings, hands down, like that you are not going to be late. I mean, it's just things like about our just that is about our culture, but it's just things that we all believe in that a lot of people take for granted and assume that everybody should know, but not everybody holds themselves to the same high standards. And so we specifically, it's funny because I made them sign it. The people that were my existing staff, I had them sign it, and they actually asked me, they said, "Can you start showing this to people in interviews so that they can weed themselves out?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I can do that." And they wanted to hold everybody to that same standard, which I love. So,
So have you had a case where you had a tough conversation because people were not holding themselves to those
mm,
same standards?
to be honest, no. I mean, we've had people, when I wrote it, it was knowing that we had peeps past really person, maybe one in particular, but we'd had a person or two that have come into the company that turned out they did not hold themselves to those standards. Um, and it was things too, like we own our mistakes. That's a simple thing. It seems simple, but not everybody will do it. Some people are incredibly defensive and they can't say, "Oh my gosh, I totally messed up." And so it's just simple things like that, but being willing to, to recognize those things. And so yes, I've had to have um hard conversations, but those people are no longer with my company, to be honest with you. And I think being clear up front on what the expectations are really helps to avoid that.
And I assume EOS, uh, the entrepreneur operating system, is part of that fabric of keeping your people accountable, right?
For sure. For sure. It is a big part of that.
And what's the practice we use? Like, how do you remind people? How do you keep people on top of their goals?
We
For
do
those
have
that
a
are not
regular
familiar with EOS.
We have a regular meeting cadence. So we meet as a leadership team, and they meet in their departments on a regular weekly basis. So we have quarterly goals as well as annual goals, and in the annual goals, obviously, the quarterly goals support the annual goals. And then we meet every single week without fail, and we talk and track those our progress toward those goals.
Mhm. What's one thing stopping you from doing the best work of your life?
I actually feel like I am doing the best work of my life, to be honest with you. And I think that the real beauty of it is if I'm at a point in my life where it's not necessarily me doing the actual work, it's my people. And that's fantastic because it helps me. They share the vision and the strategy and the way, the philosophy for the way that we approach authentic marketing. And so now exponentially we can impact more people than if I was just trying to do everything myself.
Do you have a vision for how you want to change the world of marketing? Like you're changing the world of, empowering women?
I would love to change. I would love to change the world of marketing. I feel it's interesting because I think people underestimate the impact that women have as consumers. 85% of buying decisions are made or heavily influenced by women. A lot of times people attribute who swiped the card. And then you say, "Okay, well, what's your demographic of your buyer?" And they'll tell you, "Oh, 50-50, or, or more
Yeah,
male." But then it's like, no, who made the decision? And I think really
yeah.
helping the world of marketing realize the impact of women on the economy would be huge. And it would heavily influence and change the way we approach marketing because women, I think, align to and are more attracted to very authentic, genuine marketing. And I feel like is a lot of marketing is not very authentic. And so I think it would also change the way that we show women in marketing. Um, and it would, I think, I mean, I look at it, I have a daughter who's 17, and I want her to see marketing that shows empowered and strong and capable women. Um, and I feel like we have a little ways to go there.
Coming back to culture, what would you say to a leader who's not intentional about their people, who sees them as functions of a business goal? What would you tell them?
I would tell them that they need to they need to rethink that. I think that your people are your business. I mean, at the end of the day, as a leader or an owner, you're just one person. Your people are the face of your company. And if you really breathe life into them and you support them and you actually care for them and see them as more than just a worker, I think it can completely change the experience of your customers or clients. And I think that it will help with retention. It will help actually drive more sales. It helps people. I mean, I would just say for me, I believe that my truly caring for my people, it is probably the single largest contributor to my company's success.
And is there anything, any parting thoughts you want to leave us with, like something you recently read or watched that touched you, or something you think more people should be exposed to?
Hmm. Gosh, that's a good one. Um, I would say probably intentionality. I think that that's one of the things that I just finished doing a retreat this weekend. It was a meditation retreat, and really just I think it made me just think a lot about being very intentional with everything that I do in my life and not I think we have a tendency as human beings to get into a groove, right? Like every single day you come in, it's all like, you drive to work, it's on autopilot. You can't even remember the turns that you took because you were just on autopilot. We go through our day, so much of it really um not truly thinking and not being in the now and being present. And so I think that that'd be one of the things um that's top of mind for me right now is just really trying to make sure I'm not living my life that way and being just on autopilot. Same thing, different day, but really we only have so much time. And I want to start being incredibly intentional with everything that I do as a leader, as a mom, as just a person, a friend, a human being. So,
I was reading recently, time is the most precious commodity we have.
mhm,
We all have the same amount, more or less, and it's not something you can never buy.
mm-mm,
And so, the more intentional we are with how we spend our time, like the place we work, the partner that's next to us, um, our home, the country we live in, all of that, the more intentional we are with being selective about those things that affect how we spend our time, the less regrets
mhm.
we'll have in our old age.
Yeah,
No matter how rich or poor or, you know, anything else, time is the is really how we'll judge our existence on this earth.
I agree. I think that that's a huge lesson that we should teach to the next generation as well,
Yeah.
especially with all the devices and social media and all the things, and really looking at how do you spend your time? Are you doing it on,
Right.
doom scrolling, or are you,
Right.
what
Right.
are you doing with your time? Because when you look back at the end of a week, like how much of that valuable time did you really use wisely?
Exactly. Tracy, where can people find out more about you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn as well as my company's website, creativenoggin.com. I also have a website of my own. It's tracy-marlowe.com as well.
Tracy, thank you for inspiring us to care more about people at our work, um, for sharing what makes Creative Noggin weird and special, the volunteering, the celebrating dreams, family first culture, all of that are great learnings for me. For everyone that's been listening and watching, firstly, thank you for giving us your undivided attention. If you enjoyed the show as much as I did talking with Tracy here in Finding About Authentic Marketing, and people first culture, then do leave us a 5-star rating, because that's how more people get to find out about our podcast. You can always listen, or if you like to watch, we're also on YouTube. And keep on leading and creating happier but also higher performance culture for you and for especially for those around you. Take care.